If mom stopped for one holiday, this holiday, there would be no gifts, no magic, no Christmas. I want that to sink in. Not because we want credit, okay? But because so much of it lives up in our heads. Literally. All day long. Months ahead. So, just think about that. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the holidays and what it's like being a mom in this magic we call Christmas. So let's get started. Thank you for tuning in last time. This episode, I kind of wanted to talk about the magic behind Christmas and holidays, but mostly Christmas, being that we are officially 4 days by the time you see this away from Christmas, 5 days right now. And I'm sure as any mom out there right now, we're all kind of like both excited and thrilled, but also very stressed. But before we get started into that, I kind of wanted to take a shout out to a few people who commented on some of my previous videos. And I thought that this would be a cute little thing to start every episode with, just like taking the time to shout you guys back out. So the first person I wanted to shout out was Haley Burke. And she said, thanks for this. Yep. Yeah, I get it. There's sometimes feelings that we as mothers share an unspoken bond with, and sometimes it's a little harder to have those feelings expressed. And so I am happy that you felt relatable to that. Thanks. Next is Lynn's. She said, lesson is don't have children, sign a tired mom. I'm going to be honest, I really don't understand sarcasm. Completely goes over my head. So I don't know if you're being sarcastic in this or if you're genuinely saying don't have children. Either way, all love here. Thank you. Geeky Eiley said, I understand this perfectly, specifically not having the dad's help. Yeah. I'm here to help you guys resonate with those feelings. Very well. And to round this segment off, we can't speak to the good without bringing light to the bad, right? So Loki69 Maish said, so 2 kids, no dad, and government funded. I'm not entirely sure you watched the video, but I am a work from home mom. I am a marketing manager at an insurance agency. I am married for the last 3 years to the man that I've been with for the last 13 years. So not sure you meant to comment that, or I'm not sure what was happening there, but I do appreciate the hate, so thanks. Also, I've never been on government assistance, although there's nothing wrong with government assistance if you need it, especially with all the single moms out there, and even moms who are working and there's a couple. Definitely not something to place judgment on. So thanks. My daughter's awake, so you guys might hear a little. She's really fighting that bedtime, which if you know a toddler, you really can't give them an inch because they're going to try to take a whole damn mile. All right, so to start off this segment, let's talk about the magic of the holidays and what that means to moms, right? And I want to preface this whole episode with dads are also appreciated. They the dynamic is unique in every situation. If you're a stay-at-home mom, obviously you're not bringing money in, so presents aren't happening unless dad is contributing financially, and so that is how he makes the magic happen while you handle all the mental load and the planning. And if you are a working mom with a husband, that dynamic might look different. Maybe you take on the lead of this because it's something you value more and maybe he doesn't. But so I don't want any husbands out there thinking that this is a jab to them. If anything, I just want to kind of give a shout out to the moms who are making the magic, the same way that your mom, when you were growing up, made your magic. So when most people think about the holidays, we're seeing the Hallmark movie, and you have the fun lights, and you have the decorations and the happy moments, and you see all these fun videos on TikTok and YouTube of people just doing their Christmas hauls of their decorations, and then it flows into what they're buying their kids. And there is such, especially in today's economy, there's such a different spectrum. You have people who are, barely able to afford anything, and, they're doing their 1, 2, 3 hauls. And then you have people who are literally sitting on live all day, um, about to give their, 2, 3 kids each 200 gifts. So, the idea of what we understand as Christmas, and the holidays and New Year's is very much controlled by what we see in the media and on our phones, and possibly by our childhood and the traditions that we've shaped. But what we don't see behind the scenes is all of the moms who are thinking ahead, the moms who are shopping for Christmas gifts that are on clearance all the way in July, all the way in April, the moms who are storing away and thinking, that's something that my child likes, that's something that daddy likes, that's something my mother-in-law is going to enjoy. Like, there's constant planning. And then we have so many different dynamics. I have so many friends with different dynamics. I know for me, like, we do Christmas Eve at my mother-in-law's house, where she gets to have all her kids at her house for their Christmas and their, and the grandkids. And then my brother-in-law, his wife, on Christmas Day, they do their own thing. And then me and my little family, we open our Christmas early in the morning. And then we have my mother-in-law and father-in-law and family come in the later morning for breakfast and the rest of the day. So dynamics look very different. Planning looks very different. I know just in that situation, that means that, I have to figure out making sure that I'm getting all of the cousins' gifts, making sure that I am bringing any kind of meals or things that I need to bring for Christmas Eve, while also making sure that the house is clean for Christmas Day when everybody's coming over here, and making sure I know what I'm going to make for Christmas Day breakfast and Christmas Day lunch. And I still got to make sure all the presents are wrapped. There's just a lot that goes into the Christmas magic, and this is me talking about it at the very end, but this starts all the way back. Like I said, we have mothers who are shopping months and weeks in advance. I'm not like that. I probably start sometime in mid-November, because I like to be done at least a week out. And this time last year, I was so pregnant. I think I was like 2 weeks away from being due. So, like, I didn't even want to wrap presents. I think my wrap job was horrific. This year, I've enjoyed it a little bit more. I've taken a longer stride with buying gifts. So every night I make sure to wrap the gifts that I bought that day and then just place them under the tree and call it a day, which has been really helpful for my mental load, and just like scheduling everything. But this last week, the week that runs up until Christmas, holy cow, there's just everything happens. You still have these last minute gifts you need to do. You need to make sure that the house stays clean when your family starts to come, because my mother drives down and stays with us. I need to make sure all the gifts are bought for the cousins and the family members and my kids. I need to make sure that I got all the food stuff that I need to get the groceries I need to get, because Wednesday and Thursday can't really do anything that day, so that leaves Monday and Tuesday. And then, as you guys guessed, I'm working full time, so it's not like I can just kind of go and do. Definitely a stressful time, but it's so worth it, because all I can think about is Christmas morning when my almost 1-year-old wakes up, and then my 2.5-year-old wakes up, and it's Christmas morning. It's wake up 5 minutes in and open presents, like go crazy opening presents. Look at their faces brighten up. And probably not so much my 1-year-old just yet, although he does like opening things and he does like toys. But my 2-year-old, this is really her first like Christmas morning, where she's like Santa just brought all the stuff. So I'm super excited about that. And when you play Santa, that also is like, okay, so Christmas Eve, we're busy all day, right? Because we're at my in-laws. We won't get back home till like 6 o'clock, 7, get the kids down, right? I'm probably not free till 7:30. And then from 7:30 till whatever time, I have to build presents, build things, finish last minute wrap things. So it's definitely, it feels like the next like week is just nonstop. And I'd love to hear from you guys. Like, how do you feel? Do you feel like this week is just nonstop, or do you have any tools that you do to kind of mitigate feeling overwhelmed over the holidays, so that you're not spreading yourself out so thin the week before? Because I know my coworkers who are all like stay at home, work from home moms, they're all the same. We're stretched so thin because we have family flying down, and we have family that we have to go see, and we have to buy gifts for, 10 different kids. Like, it's just a lot. And it's such a good blessing to be able to be stressed in this capacity, right? Because we can be stressed in a very different capacity where it's like we can't afford to buy our children things. And I think every day that's kind of what motivates me and pushes me to kind of keep going forward and to keep working towards magic, because this could not be the case, right? You could not be able to create magic. You could not be able to afford to buy decorations or gifts for people. And so I think with anything in life, even the frustrations of, being stressed from being a mom, or being stressed from working, or I think there's always a necessity to look at it in a different light and be like, well, it could be worse. I should be happy that this is this. I'm allowed to feel this way. But after I've taken that minute of feeling stressed and overwhelmed, let me work towards making sure that I'm making the best of this and really soaking this in while I have it, because nothing in life is guaranteed. And when nothing in life is guaranteed, you better hold on to the moments that you do have and the opportunities that you do get. So why do I think so much of the holiday magic goes unnoticed? Well, invisible labor is still labor. And while I don't necessarily think that they're intentionally oblivious, I just think that they think we enjoy it. I think that men function very differently. I think that in their mind, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you don't want to, dress them this way, don't dress them this way. If you don't want to buy presents, don't buy presents. Like, whereas like women are very much structured, and especially once you become a mom, you live on like, I need structure, routine, and like planning. And so we kind of force ourselves into it, right? Because if we want our house to be decorated all month of December, we kind of have to start the first week of December or the last week of November. But if the husband doesn't want to start that soon, you're forced to do it because you want to enjoy that month of decorations. And if you wait around, it's never going to happen. So you do the decorations, and then you think about gifts, and it's like, okay, well, there's a sale now that I saw the other day on Target or Walmart or wherever you're shopping. And it's like, well, if I don't get this sale now, this toy or this thing that I want is going to be $15 more next week. So you start to buy things that you need for Christmas and that you want to get for your kids or your husband or whoever. And so now somehow you're kind of wrapped into the knowings of what to get and when to get it. And then there's the, as a woman, I don't know if it's intuitive to us, but I like pretty gifts. The only time I didn't care about how my presents looked was when I was 38 weeks pregnant. I'm not 38 weeks pregnant. I'm almost a year postpartum with my second. So I care about how my gifts look, and it makes me feel good. And there was a video I saw the other day where the mother said that, like, when we're asking for help, we're not asking for help to not do the fun things. We want to bake our cookies. We want to, go to the Christmas light show. We want to decorate the tree with our kids. What we don't want to do is feel like we have to like, we want to do that, but we also have to do everything else. And so when people say like, don't do it, it's like, no, I want to do that. What I don't want to do is the laundry. What I don't want to do is the groceries. What I don't want to do is figuring out what time your family's coming over, or what we should make for dinner, or the fact that I have to be the one that's making it also. So like, but again, I think a lot of that comes down to communication, or lack of communication, and just different. I do believe that gender and society affect how we perceive each other and perceive how we do things. And I think with the holidays, it's very much ingrained in boys growing up that their mothers are going to take care of everything, and their sisters eventually, as they get older, start to kind of get involved more and more into those traditions. And then when they, find themselves married to a woman, she's probably been raised to be involved and take leadership in those roles for the holiday magic, and he's been trained essentially to just kind of step back. And so that's why I say, even though it may look like it's fun to like do all these things, it could be. But when you're doing all these really fun things you want to do with your children and want to do for the holidays, you start to get tired of everything else. And I think that's where the invisible labor still feels like labor part comes from, because it's just like your normal stress, and now you're trying to make magic. But that being said, I think most moms will 100% do it every year over and over again, because again, the same way you enjoy your cookies is the same way you want to, look at your kids rip into their presents like little trolls. Or I call them crotch goblins because they came from my crotch. Anyways, it's worth it to me. I love it. I love seeing my daughter light up. I love seeing my son light up. And it's especially a stressful season for me because my son's birthday is actually 4 days after Christmas. So I have a lovely holiday Christmas, and then I have a lovely birthday to celebrate. And the number one thing I want to do for my son growing up, and he might not care so much now, but when he starts to notice, is I want to make sure he damn well right feels like his birthday is separate from this holiday. And I don't know what that looks like at this moment, but that's definitely something that's on my mind for him. So what does a mental load look like during the holidays compared to the first bit of the year? I think that holiday mental stress is dependent on the holidays. I think that there are some holidays that require more of us than others. I think Christmas, Thanksgiving, like these last few holidays are definitely the most emotionally taxing, because it's also when we have external factors, external family members that are coming. I have so many friends right now that this time of year is when they have a lot of emotional conflicts, because they're dealing with in-laws that don't necessarily get along with them. They're dealing with siblings that don't get along with them. They're dealing with the fact that they don't want to travel to 4 different locations in a day, and they just had a baby. So I think this time of year, the mental stress is definitely it just multiplies as like the year kind of goes by. And I think that's not even so much just because of all that you have to do and think and plan, but again, it's those emotional ties with relationships and people that you don't necessarily engage with all year long, and then you kind of are forced to engage with them, and it's not fun. And I'm very fortunate that I don't have tumultuous relationships with my in-laws or my family, but I've been hearing some pretty crazy things happening to some of my mom friends, and it's just, I'm exhausted. I couldn't imagine having to do everything and be the magic and make sure the house isn't falling apart and being presentable, but then also dealing with all that drama. And I'm sorry if that's something that you're dealing with right now, as it's not fair. But I see you, and I think your children are going to see you, if not now, in the future when they're older and they realize that, SANTA isn't real. It was you. It was daddy. So just kind of keep moving forward and look forward, and just know that like being the magic, even if it's stressful, is worth it, at least in my eyes. Do you feel like you're responsible for everyone's experience during the holidays? Moms often feel like the holidays are only successful if everyone else is happy. And I think the reason why we feel like that is because we're pouring so much into other people's cups. If they aren't happy, it almost feels like we maybe missed missed something. It's kind of like when you cook a meal and, you know, someone was really excited about it and you give it to them and then they're like, oh, you know, it was a little salty. You're like, oh crap, you feel horrible. I think in that same regard, I think with our kids especially, I know for me personally, I feel responsible with whether or not my children got enough, felt like they experienced enough, felt like I'm constantly thinking about what are my children going to think when they're 15, 16, 17 years old? Are they going to look back and be like, Christmas growing up was always magical. Like we woke up and within seconds we were opening our gifts and Santa, you know, would give us the, you know, the best things. And, you know, we would have our family eating breakfast with us and you know, hanging out with the day and we would see our cousins. Like, I want my children to look back at their memories fondly. And I feel like if I fail to reach that level of contentness, it's a failure on my end. But that being said, it's not a monetary thing. I don't necessarily think that, like, right now I may really enjoy buying lots of little things, because they're so tiny, but as my kids get older, I definitely want to start teaching them the value of a gift and the value of who's giving you a gift and taking the time to open gifts. Because it's not about how many gifts you get, it's about the thought that came behind it. And so, you know, when my kids are, you know, 12, 10, 11, 12, they're not going to get nearly as many gifts as they got when they were 2, 3, and 4, right? They're going to get really thoughtful, maybe a handful of gifts. So I don't want anybody kind of listening to this associating magic with like having a jillion times of, you know, types of presents underneath the tree. It's more about the effort of making the magic feel almost like effortless. So yeah, I don't know. If you understand what I'm trying to say, comment down below. Sometimes I go off on these tangents of like philosophical stuff, where I kind of have a grasp on what I'm saying, but I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't really know how to put that into words. But I think that's also just motherhood. Most of the time we're just kind of going and it's very instinctual and there's not necessarily a way to describe or encase that feeling and that thought and that experience. And that's okay. At least in my book, it's okay. What happens internally when something goes wrong, even if it's something small, would be definitely moms just blame themselves. If we're late, I'm gonna blame myself. If I signed up to make rolls for the holiday get-together and they suck, blaming myself. If I get my daughter way too many presents and I feel like my son didn't get enough, I'm gonna blame myself. Not so much right now, but as he gets older, I feel like that's definitely gonna be a big one for me. And it's so hard to, because I'm like both a boy mom and a girl mom, but I just love buying girl stuff. And I think it's also because like growing up, I didn't get to have a lot of stuff that I wanted. And so there's just so many cool things that like baby Jaylene is like, oh my God, I want that. That's so cool. And then my daughter is so much like me. She loves all the things that I loved as a little girl. So like she's into the nails and the hair and the stuffed animals. And so like, it's like I'm gifting myself when I gift her. That sometimes I can walk into a store and I could just like pick out a bajillion things. And then I'm like, oh wait, I got to get my son something. And it's not that I don't want to get him something and I'm not thinking about getting him something. It's just he's a boy and I don't really know what to get him. I feel like because he's a boy, I'm kind of putting this mental blocker in my head that's like, well, he's a boy, so I don't really know what boys like, and like I don't want to get him something that he doesn't like. And so like I get him, he has a good bit of stuff, don't get me wrong, but I have to like actively think about really cool things for him, because like that's how I make up feeling like I easily get her stuff. In my head, I'm like, well, her stuff is just like little like whatevers, but like the stuff I get him, they're like thoughtful and like really cool, and it may not be a lot, but like it's really cool stuff. We'll see how that goes. And I know as he gets older, my husband's gonna kind of take the lead on that stuff for him, because he's just gonna know what's more relatable to a little boy when it comes to like games and Legos and things like that. You can see I'm struggling as I'm talking right now. But yeah, so there are a few traditions that we've all had. Everybody's traditions are different. I know a great example is like the way my husband's family does Christmas Eve versus the way my family did Christmas Eve. So the way my husband's family does it is that my mother-in-law and father-in-law, we all go to their house. And so that way she has all her kids with her and then all the grandkids. And then all the grandkids open all the gifts from her and Papa. And then they also open gifts from their cousins. So, Scarlett's cousins, Carter's cousins would open gifts that Scarlett and Carter got them. And then vice versa. And then we spend the day there from like 12 all the way to the evening. We eat dinner or like a lunch. I think in the South they call it like dinner, but it's actually lunch because it's at 2:00. Tomato. But so that's how they do it. And then growing up, like for me, it was always like Christmas Day, you didn't really do anything, but like Christmas Eve evening, you would have a dinner and you would open up one gift, and that gift would be like your pajamas, which is also very different to how me and my little family are doing things. So the way my family is doing it is merging what his family does, which is the Christmas Eve day stuff, with his family and the cousins and stuff. But then Christmas Day, we like the immediate family will like open gifts. Like the kids will just wake up and open gifts because like in my head that's what it is, right? In every movie the kid wakes up, they run down the stairs, in our case the hall, and they see all the amazing toys that Santa brought them because they were good little boys and girls, and they just go straight into it 6 a.m. to like bedtime. So that's definitely my tradition. I am also this year going to try and do cookies and milk with Santa, and my husband is going to dress up as Santa, and we're gonna do a video where the kids can see Santa, kind of walk past it, eat some cookies, drink some milk, maybe put some toys down. So like that's kind of a little bit of that Christmas magic that we're kind of both really excited to do, and that's going to be a tradition until they call our bluff on who's really behind that ho ho ho. So that's just one way that we're doing magic. We don't really have any New Year's plans. I guess me and my husband's tradition as of right now until they're older is to binge watch a really good show. This year it's Stranger Things. If you're a Stranger Things fan, comment down below because I'm so ready to see what's about to happen, and I can't believe that they're making us wait till Christmas and then New Year's Eve I think is the next one. So yeah, that's a little bit of like what we're trying to do and like just how unique and different it is for everybody. And I think a lot of my coworkers, I've asked them this question too, and they've kind of shared similar things. Different. Some people are going to like 4 or 5 different houses Christmas Eve. Some people are going to like one family member in the morning, another family member in the afternoon, and then they're staying at home in the evening on Christmas Day. Just lots of different little things. And then some people even do like a whole thing the day after Christmas where they go shopping together and get all sorts of like discounts. I heard that one this year from a coworker, and I thought that was actually pretty smart. I mean, what better time than to get a pressure cooker when it's $25 because it's, a clearance item now. That also like makes me think like that's the best time you should buy your spouse or your significant other a gift is like the post clearance. And that's what me and my husband used to do before we got married. We would separate for the holidays, and then we would buy each other's gifts like the day after Christmas because everything would be discounted. And then when we would meet up with each other again right before New Year's, we would exchange the gifts and we would be able to get more stuff because everything was so like dirt cheap. And I've done that with family too. I'll just send them an extra gift because I saw a really nice espresso machine and it was like 10% of what it typically is. So if you weren't already planning on doing that, there's an idea. So how does social media affect the expectations that we as mom are feeling about the holidays. And this one's a tough one for me because like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Obviously, it's a big part of my career. I'm doing it right now too. But there's so much that is shown and there's so much that isn't shown on camera. And like I sometimes feel like some moms make everything look so picture perfect, like they're decorating and they're doing like these immense, like lavish decorations for their house, and it's December 5th and you're just like trying to like barely toss up some lights on your tree, and meanwhile they have like a whole like avant-garde busch garden of gingerbread mans. I don't really know, but I think that is a great example of like reality versus expectation. And I try not to fall into that. I try not to compare myself to them. I try to tell myself they have way more money, way more time, way more vision than I do, and that's okay. Like I'm sure like that was planned and staged and they had tons of help, and at least that's how I'm getting through that social media like reality blitz. Another thing I see is feeling guilty for being able to provide for your children and your family. Especially this year, I've somehow gotten onto the angel tree TikTok, and some of these angel trees are just like so precious, and it's just like I would love to do that if the opportunity presented itself one day. But at the same token, it also makes you feel guilty because it's like, well, I can afford to get my kids stuff, but I can't afford to exactly donate a ton of money to angel trees. So does that make me a bad person? Does that make me selfish because I'm trying to focus on providing for my kids' experience and not necessarily taking away some of theirs to give to another? So that's been a big struggle. And then also on the flip side, I've seen some of these angel tree reaction videos, and it's kind of a little, I guess, intimidating to see people expect such expensive gifts that you wouldn't even buy for your kids. Like most of my kids have TJ Maxx and Amazon stuff. Like I'm not buying them like super lavish, expensive name brand things. But some of the angel tree haul people, receivers, they're expecting like Lululemon and Aloe and just like crazy things that I can't afford or I wouldn't even want to afford for my kids until they were like older. So there's just a lot of feelings that I feel like social media brings about in the holidays, and the best way to navigate that is to understand that comparison steals joy fast during the holidays, and so you best not compare. Just keep scrolling. Just keep scrolling. Just keep scrolling, scrolling. So another thing that is on the top of my mind is burnout. I would want to say that, and this is kind of contrary to what most people might think, but I feel less burnt out during the holidays than I do outside of the holidays. And I think that's because the magic that I'm trying to create and the magic that you're trying to create and our families are trying to create, like that magic lifts your spirits up a little bit. And so even if you are super burnt out, you don't necessarily feel it as much, or you don't really care as much because, you're sitting, you're making cookies, you're making gingerbread houses, you're wrapping presents, you're going shopping. Like there's a lot of like dopamine boosting and serotonin boosting that you're getting from these like little activities that I think are just kind of like buzzing us down a little bit from the burnout. But I do think the day after the holidays, like the day after Christmas, the burnout is very intense. It like hits you because you're like, oh my God, it's over. There's no more lights to go see. There's no more food to go eat. There's no more, decorations to, be had. Like I got to take the decorations down. And then when you take the decorations down, the house suddenly feels less cozy. It feels less warm and inviting. And now it feels sterile. And then January is just a very cold and dreary month. There's not much happening. You're kind of getting back into the swing of like the work corporate feel where people are starting to like have higher expectations. Clients are starting to engage a little bit more. You have new goals that you're trying to reach. So I feel like definitely burnout isn't occurring during the holidays, but it definitely is occurring post holidays. And that's something that I think needs to be talked about more, and just kind of like how people are navigating that as moms, as stay-at-home moms, working moms, office moms, just like, what are you actively trying to do to avoid that? I know for me, it's probably like focusing on like fitness goals and whatnot, but I'm not there yet. Like I said, I'm still like living in the lights and living in the, oh my God, my kids are going to open presents in a few days. I'm so excited. I don't want to think about what comes after. So I'm gonna just keep moving on to the next topic. So what does support look like for moms in this season? This is a good one because I have a mom friend that, she's basically where I was last year. And last year I was so pregnant, so miserable, so just overwhelmed. The holiday was like just not holidaying for me. I honestly was just, it was like, oh my God, let me do all this stuff because like I'm a mom and I'm supposed to, and I don't want to kind of be perceived, but it was all half-assed. Whereas like this season, I'm very much like comfortable. I'm happy, like I have the means, like it's just all around a better opportunity. But I have a mom friend who is she's also a work from home mom, and she is pregnant with her second, and she also has a toddler who's the same age as Scarlett. She's 2, and she is going through it. I know she's going through it, and the best thing that I can say, if you have a mom who is in this predicament, or you have a mom who's just not even pregnant and going through it, like, be there to offer help. I know I've texted her and I've asked her if, like, one night when I get the kids down, if you need me to come over and wrap presents for you, I will do that. You tell me what you want on it, what name goes where you want me to put it. I will do that for you. If you need me to come over and help you, clean up, or if you want to run some air, like anything like that. I think offering help, without the expectation that they're going to ask you for it is the most, the most useful thing to do if you're actually looking to support your fellow moms. Is just offer a helping hand. It's that simple. Offer what you would want to be offered if it was you in that position. Okay. Another thing is like, how can your partner show up for you? I know for me, like helping clean the house during the holidays, helping kind of do some of the shopping for the people that I might be struggling with, helping kind of prepare things, run errands, like, watching the kids so that I can go get some like last minute gifts, things like that, are usually helpful. I think it's hard to give advice on like what's helpful, because for some people it's one thing. For like some people care about like, making sure that their husband has, gotten stuff for their stockings. Like I don't necessarily care about that, but I know for someone else that might be something that's going to leave them crying in the corner. So I think the best thing you can do is if you know your spouse, you should know what's going to trigger them and actively avoid doing that. Like make an effort to listen to the things that they've said in the past and fix it. So if your spouse has said, hey, like, I feel like you didn't like think about me, you didn't get me like stockings, then get her stockings. If your spouse said, hey, like I felt like I was the only person that was cleaning up the house, to get everybody ready for Christmas Day, help to clean the house. If she was like, hey, like, I've done all the shopping and I feel like you didn't help me like figure out toys for the gifts. You don't know anything. Like say, okay, what kids, like, hey, how about, don't ask her what kids, just say, hey, how about I take this kid and this kid? And if she doesn't want that, she's going to tell you, no, how about you do this kid and this kid? But don't ask her. Please do not ask her what you need done. Just take initiative. And if she sees the initiative, she's going to naturally tell you what needs to be done and fix it. What she doesn't want to be is having to navigate another mental load of saying, okay, so now I have to tell you what you need to do when you should already know what needs to be done or have an idea. Like look around you. So definitely tune into your partner. They're your partner for a reason. You should know them better than anybody. It's that simple in my mind. It's that simple. I'm going to speak on this topic because I've heard it a lot in the mom community, and it's boundaries. I think that when you come from a family like you come from your family and then your partner comes from their family, and they have a sense of enmeshment with their family. Like they have, parents who are very involved or feel very, I guess, I forget the word, like entitled, I guess, to your husband or your children. Like that is something that like you kind of have to navigate and kind of speak to. I think a lot of the times, like people, they have children and their children grow up and they expect their children to kind of do everything with them. But when you go off and you create your own family, now it's your time to be the dad. It's your time to be the mom to your children and create your own traditions. And sometimes I've heard this a lot actually in my mom friend groups. Sometimes it's almost like you're stuck in other people's traditions or other families' traditions because that's who you're married into. And until like, whenever whatever happens, like you're kind of stuck living someone else's traditions and how they want their, but it's really hard for my friends because it's like this is their one life. This is their first time being a mom, and this is their first time being a dad, and like they're entitled to now live their life and do their family things. And like it's really important that you make clear expectations with your parents, with your siblings, or whoever it is that is kind of doing a little bit of that enmeshment, and say, hey, like, I love you, I want to do this, I want to see you, but here's what we're doing, and like here's what we can do afterwards or before, but like we're gonna do our own thing first, or we're gonna do this first, because I think that's the best way that everybody's gonna kind of get to eat their cake and slice. That's the best way that like you as a mom are gonna feel like, okay, my husband's supporting me and valuing me and letting me do my like thing, but also the family, the extended family feels like and again, it's hard because I've had friends who have families who like they're literally trying to work with, and they're like, no, if it's my way or the highway, like he's my son, I want my son and my grandchildren here on this day because it's Christmas. And everybody's always done Christmas here for the last 30, 40 years, and it's like, well, you're not mom to little kids anymore. It's not about you anymore. It's about the new mom whose kids are little, and she's trying to create memories, because if she's too busy creating memories for your sake, when she's your age, she's going to have nothing to look back at when she's your age, because you were too busy making it about you and making it about your moment. And it's really hard because some of my friends come from religious backgrounds, and I'm not for religion, against religion, but I do think that the older generations tend to use that as a way of guilting new moms, young moms, into kind of stepping aside for a good bit. And I've seen, at least with my generation, a lot of moms my age are now standing up and they're saying, you know what? No, that's not okay. Like, these are my kids. These are my memories. Like, I have these, 5, 10, 15 years with them before they start to do their own thing. And I'm not going to give that up just so that you can continue to pretend that you're a mom to little kids. So I went on a little bit of a rant there. It's just, I've had this conversation with so many different moms, and it's kind of a shared experience amongst the mom community. And I get it. I think I'm very fortunate. I have a mother-in-law who does her thing the day before, and then I get to do my thing, and then I get to have everybody here. So like, but not everybody is that fortunate. There are people who are forced to like go to like 3, 4 different, family members on Christmas Day with their little kids, when in reality they should be home all day on Christmas Day, not traveling to other people's homes out of their expectations. So if that is something that you're dealing with, I completely understand. If you kind of need someone to vent to, you can always message me, DM me. I'm always open to having, just a good mom to mom talk or chat. I know that that's a very difficult topic to talk about with family without having judgment placed on you. So, see this as a community of people who see you and hear you and appreciate you and understand you and will not judge you for feeling like you need to make a place for yourself in your motherhood that is yours right now. I guess out of everything that I've said today, I just kind of want to say there is no such thing as a perfect holiday. Perfect is almost imperfect. Memories that are made are some of the most imperfect ones that, we can think of right now. I can't think of my perfect memories with my kids, but I can think of the imperfect ones when my daughter fell face first into the floor and knocked her teeth almost out of her head. I can think of when my son got super sick and, it landed us in the hospital. I can think of the time my daughter first, met my son, and in my head, I thought she was going to be like all over him, and she was just kind of like, nope, I don't care about you. And honestly, she didn't care about him for like the first 3 months of his life, but that's what I remember, those imperfect memories. So I would say this holiday season, try your best to make the magic. It's going to happen because as a mom, you're already there. You're putting the gifts under the tree. You're waking them up. You're doing your part. And that's all that really matters. How that looks the day of, it is what it is, right? It's a memory. Just enjoy it and fight for it, because again, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, or wherever you are with your kids' age, you're not going to have it forever. And that's normal. That's expected. We're raising our kids to become independent. And so it's all that more important for you to really make the most of, those 18 years that you have making memories. So, okay, if I could say one thing to all of you moms out there listening, I barely even got to touch my margarita. Look at me. That was really good. If I can say one thing to you moms out there listening, just know the holidays are happening because of you. Even if nobody says it out loud, they appreciate you. Your husband appreciates you. Your children appreciate you, or the Santa version of you. I don't really know, but they appreciate you. You're appreciated. You're seen and you're loved. And feel good knowing that, like, if you didn't decorate the house, it's not getting decorated. If you didn't, go out of your way to remember all the little things your kids said and they needed or liked or wanted, you might not get everything. And that's a good feeling to know that you're the person that knows all that. That is a skill, and people pay big money for that. I think they're like corporate assistants who get paid to literally know everything and do everything. So if you're a working mom, I guess you're kind of getting paid. But if you're a stay-at-home mom, especially in this season, know that you are just as valuable as the man, the husband, the partner who is helping you financially make the magic. If you are going to an office every day and dropping your kids off at daycare, know that you are doing just as much as anybody else to work hard so that when they wake up Christmas morning, they have gifts to open. And if you are at home working with your kids and you feel like you're losing it, just know that it is worth it when they wake up that morning and they get to feel the magic of, what Christmas is about. Anyways, with that being said, I'm going to take me and my salty margarita covered self off to bed. My baby's crying. Night. If this episode resonated with you, please like and subscribe or follow us wherever you're listening, be it YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, wherever. Drop a comment and tell us, what the holiday feels like for you as a mom. You can check the link in our description about to find all of our channels and where they're at. We're working on launching a Discord and a Facebook group, a community with fellow moms like yourself, so that we can kind of all be here to support each other through the frustrations, the joys of motherhood, and everything in between, even the things that we are often leaving unspoken in our own personal family communities. So again, follow, like, and subscribe. And the link tree is going to be located in my bio. So click that and it'll have all sorts of goodies like that Facebook and Discord group.